Yo, so what's good, Spirit Squad? And today what we got going on is another video on Bant spirits, also with some good news. So, I don't know if anybody happened to see like random posts I might have made on social media or whatever, but I am actually going to start streaming again. So, it's actually been a few years since I've really attempted to, I guess, delve into the into the streaming world. And while I am still trying to figure out a lot of the settings and stuff and how different it is from YouTube and all of that good technological stuff, I'm really glad to say that we did start off our first experimental stream today, and we got to show off the list that we're looking at. So what we have here is a relatively normal Bant Spirits list, although, as usual, I've made some changes from what we would normally see on a site like Goldfish. So what we have here as far as variations are going to be 3 copies of Collected Company instead of 4, 4 Aether Vials, so we've got the full 4 Aether Vials and the full 4 Noble Hierarchs for, I guess, maximum stability, and 2 copies of Lofty Denial in the main, as well as 3 copies of Glasspool Mimic. So with the 20 real lands and the 3 Glasspool Mimics, we've actually got quite the stable package of mana between those, Aether Vial, Noble Hierarch. So the situations where we won't be able to cast our cards, or at least cheat them into play, are actually kind of few and far between. It's really sweet. And then the 2 copies of Lofty Denial are just really good things. So they're great against things like Oops All Spells, where we just kind of like desperately need the help interacting on the stack, not the board, and against things like Primeval Titan, because letting that card resolve is just a nightmare. In the sideboard, what we've got going on is 3 copies of Path to Exile, and those will come in for a lot of the matchups where things like Lofty Denial just kind of suck. We've got 2 Ceremonious Rejections, a Surgical Extraction. We're playing 2 copies of Remorseful Cleric in this deck because the deck that we actually want to use Graveyard Hate against the most right now, being Oops All Spells, honestly has a lot of trouble just dealing with us putting 2 ones on the table. So we wanted a card that kind of pulled double duty, and it could be fetched with a Collected Company. So Remorseful Cleric it is. It doesn't hurt that it happens to be a spirit on top of all that too. So life is actually really good for us when we got to see that that's an available card in the format. We're playing an Aether Gust, 2 copies of Collector Roof, a Geist's Ain't Draft, and then today's little kicker here is going to be 3 copies of Aven Mind Sensor. And this is going to be pretty good against Primeval Titan, against the Eladamri's Call decks, and because we are playing Noble Hierarchs in this deck, we can actually power them out as soon as turn 2, which is for us going to be a lot better than having to play something a little more subpar like, say, Leonin Arbiter, which I hinted at playing last time in our Blue-White Spirits video, but Avid Mind Sensor is honestly just like a much more powerful card. But costing 3 instead of 2 mana in the blue-white list is a very real cost, whereas here in Bant it's still a cost, but it is much less so since we have Collected Company and Noble Hierarch. So this is going to be the deck that we're playing today, and we're going to go over the matches that we played earlier. Yo, so we got round 1, we're on Spirits, we do not win a die roll, and we've got a little bit of a sketcher here. Alright, so I know that I've seen the name 122 Pablo before, but to be honest, I cannot remember for the life of me what they're on. But we're on the draw. Any blue source turns this entire hand from like being serviceable, which it already is, to being actual fantastic against most things. So we do keep it in gamble, but man, this is greedy. Sick. So, Mana Confluence into Serum Visions instantly means good matchup for us anyway, though. So, what we're expecting here is that, like, Ad Nauseam just is not a good matchup for a deck that has a Spell Queller and 3 Wanderers, but we draw the basic Force, which honestly kind of sucks. This is like the only land we really didn't want. But Abundant Growth actually tells us that it's not Ad Nauseam. Instead, we're actually playing against that old Jeskai Ascendancy combo. So that's going to be kind of a sick little throwback to, well, when Bant Spirits got popularized. So even though it's tapped, a blue land here is pretty fantastic for us. So it is the worst blue land in our deck, but we are still not complaining about that. So we're going to go ahead, put in one of these Wanderers, and what we want to do here, because we know they're playing Jeskai Ascendancy, right? So we want to put in as many Mausoleum Wanderers as possible, because they only have 3 Jeskai Ascendancies in their actual deck. So we've got that base covered with our Spell Queller here. However, they do play 4 copies of Green-White Wish to look for those Jeskai Ascendancies. So we want to put as many of these guys on the table to counter what's essentially their Demonic Tutor for their combo piece. So we're going to tick this Vial up to 2 so that we could potentially get it to 3 next turn. But what we really want is just to have as many Wanderers on the table as possible. That sucks. So I actually didn't know that these decks even played explosives, but if they're playing explosives in the main, then we really, really need to be concerned about that. So we're not exactly happy about the scenario where we have to use a Spell Queller on this, and they could potentially have a Jeskai Ascendancy in hand and then just go off on us. But if we let this resolve, then all they do is just pop it for 2, and we're left with just a Spell Queller, if any, interaction this turn. So we're crying a little on the inside about this EE, but we counter it. Sucks. Happens. Manamorphose is also a little annoying, but whatever, it's what they got. So we do that. And we are going to try to counter Glittering Wish is the name of it. I just remember Green-White Wish. So we do sack both of our Mausoleums to get rid of this Glittering Wish, which is always really unfortunate to have to do, but it's one of those things where like we just could not let that card resolve. And Stormwing Entity is actually pretty sweet on them. Not gonna lie, that's a cool one. So yeah, basic 4 sucks. Otherwise we could have had this Mausoleum Wanderer in play, but we do get to protect our Drogskull with Rattle Chains though, so that's pretty nice. And we draw another Drogskull too, so that's even better. So now they're just forced into a relatively crappy block here, and they throw this into the Spell Queller Void here instead of trading with Drogskull Captain as a 4/4, because they have this mana confluence and they don't want to be at 1 life and turn this whole land off in their deck. So I understand that. It makes sense. So they cast another Glittering Wish, which kind of sucks. They get their Jeskai Ascendancy, and we can't really do much about that. So, alright. Yeah, and their Sleight of Hand is just going to get them, you know, well, nothing here. Confluence sucks. They cry about it. It's what it is. So, yeah, so we win that game 1 in a relatively easy fashion, even though the matchup is pretty easy for us. So let's go ahead, jump into game 2, and then see what happens there. So we've got game 2 against Jeskai Ascendancy. In here, we don't really have too much as far as sideboard plans go, like, because this is just a deck that we haven't really seen since like 1902. So what we really want here is, I guess, just Remorseful Cleric, so that they can't just get their Fate Stitcher out of their graveyard. Aether Gust is fine. It's not great. So Aether Gust does put like a Jeskai Ascendancy back on top of their deck. It counters with quotes Glittering Wish, and in the event where they have to attack with a Birds of Paradise, it can put that back on top of their deck after they spent all of their energy comboing off. But that's really going to be about what we want here. As for things that suck in this matchup, I guess Drogskull Captain's probably the weakest card here. So let's go ahead and see what we got here. So this is actually pretty sweet too. So we've got Double Wanderer again, which is really nice. We do have the Remorseful Cleric, which is not really, still not like the best hate card, but it is good enough against Fate Stitcher. And Spell Queller is just fantastic in this matchup, so we're pretty happy about this. Even on a draw, we're still not sad. Okay, so this is also good, that it's specifically a Serum Visions and not a Birds of Paradise. So I'm not going to say get a free turn off, but we get to just not worry so much about the whole them outpacing our Spell Queller thing. that of course sucks. So, okay. And unfortunately, the card we drew was not named Skyclave Apparition to get rid of this either, so it's what it is. So they're going to go ahead and start doing their Jeskai Ascendancy thing, and they get to just like start looting cards. So we're waiting for them to like make their looting decisions here. So we are a little curious as to what they can really draw into other than Fate Stitcher to try to like get them out of this. And Stormwing Entity is pretty good, but we have honestly way more than enough spirits to really have to worry about this. We can outpace this with Rattle Chains pretty easily here. So honestly, if that's their only plan, then we're pretty excited about that. So we're going to start with Rattle Chains, targeting Remorseful Cleric because we want to keep that on the table the most currently. Alright, so let's wait for them to potentially do anything about it. Okay, and then here we're also just going to put in one of these Mausoleum Wanderers. There it is. So now we've actually got a pretty decent amount of attacking power. So we get to untap, play Supreme Phantom. If they do have a spell, sucks, whatever, we can still attack with both Mausoleum Wanderers if Stormwing is a 4/4. If they don't have a spell, then life is even better. Okay, so Cavern wasn't really like a draw that we necessarily needed here, but let's go ahead, swing, see what they do as far as blocks. And now we know that we have Supreme Phantom plus Mausoleum Wanderer. So with the Mausoleum triggers, that's actually going to just be lethal. That's 11 damage right there. So we're pretty excited about our good start here. And honestly, like, I'm excited to see older decks kind of making a comeback and people being excited about playing things they like. So Stormwing Entity and Jeskai Ascendancy, I don't know if that's enough to make it like a deck again, but that's still really sweet on our opponent for playing something they obviously like. So that's going to be a 1-0 start for us, and yeah, good luck so far. Let's move to round 2. So we got round 2. We're coming off a fresh W, and we got the die roll. And our hand's actually pretty acceptable, so this isn't bad. So no 1-drop, which is a little sad in a deck with 12 of them, but whatever. We've got decent 2-drop, great 3-drops. I'm pretty happy about this. So let's see what our opponent's playing, seeing if this ends up being a little bit of a mistake. And, oh, are we playing a Person of Culture? What's happening here? Alright, so let's go ahead, jam our lovely Supreme Phantoms, see which tribe they are. Boo! Wrong one. Don't get me wrong, I actually do like Merfolk. I just want to see people playing as much spirits as possible, that's all. So, I actually played Merfolk for a pretty long time, a couple years ago. Okay, so if this Vial turns into like a Lord of Atlantis or a Master of Waves, oh, they didn't even lie to us. Actually, I think that was a mistake on our opponent's part. Because, like, if they just attack here with a Vial on 2 up, there is no chance that we block. None. So they just skipped out on 4 really, really free damage. So here, I don't know what they're holding up this Vial for. Like, is it going to be like a Merfolk Trickster on this Drug Skull? Because that's not going to do anything. Oh, that's actually exactly what it is. Okay. Yeah, that does nothing. We're still going to get double hexproof here. So that's going to be a little bit of a sad time, but... And I think this is going to be one of those matchups now where, because they missed out on this 4 damage, they are straight up losing this race now. Because we know that we have, what, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then with the Supreme Phantom is 12, 13, 14. So we have lethal already on the table here. And, okay, so granted, they were already not going to just be able to kill us. But, like, it could have come up. Like, what if I had one less Lord or something, right? And they missed out on that 4 damage, and that ends up costing them because, I don't know, say I have, like, this Skyclave here for this Lord of Atlantis. Like, they could have just lost a game today we're actually in a position to win, rather than, you know, us having 4 lords. So like, yeah, we had more lords in the Merfolk deck, and that's why we won this game. But they definitely missed out on that damage, and that really could have cost them. Either way, we take those. So that's going to be a pretty sweet game 1 for us. And yeah, let's slide over to game 2. So game 2, what we're going to do here is we're just going to go ahead. We're going to put in those Path to Exiles that we saw before. And in this matchup, we also want to have like Collector Oof and Aether Vial. We take it down to like 1 vial, I think, because we don't know that they're not playing Collector Oof, but we also don't know that they're not playing like Smuggler's Copter, so we put in our own Collector Oof as well. We did keep in, I think, 1, maybe 2 vials just in case, but whatever. Either way, this hand we got a Noble Hierarch. And, okay, so they're going to turn off our mana for the turn there. That's fine. So we decide to go ahead, jam out Supreme Phantom, and if we draw a land next turn, then we do have the ability to like just cast a Coco, which is nice. Maybe not. And actually, that's not like maximum sad. We do only get 1 damage, not 2 though, since they turned off our Exalted. So that, boo. Okay, that's gonna be a lot of damage coming at us. So we're taking what, 6 here, going to 11. We're really sad faced about that. And we 6 them, go to 13. But now we're definitely losing this race. Like, we really needed to land here. So we're going to take this and go to what, 5? Yeah. Okay, so we cry about that. And we need something now. And that is not it. So with another land, we could have potentially casted this Coco and then, like, I don't know, Skyclaved out this Lord or something, or, you know, maybe gotten us a little bit of help. But that is not what happened here. So we just get bodied, and let's slide over to game 3. Here we go. So game 3, we're on to play this time, which is nice too. Oh boy. So this hand is going to be one that we are going to keep, but to be completely honest, I am not super happy about. So we're going to keep this hand because it is a stable hand. Like, the first Cavern of Souls is going to name Human, it's going to play Hierarch. The second Cavern of Souls is going to name Spirit, so we can cast things. But this does not spark joy. So, okay. So luckily our opponent doesn't do something as mean as like dismembering our Hierarch, but here we at least are guaranteed to be able to cast Collected Company, so we're not really sad about this. And we do draw land, which honestly I don't know that we really want this turn, but here what we're going to do is, because this turn's over, so what we're going to do here is have them take their 3 damage, cry about that, and then on their upkeep specifically, we're going to cast the Company. We don't want to give them the chance to play a land because we assume that they don't have Force Negation in their deck, but we don't know that. So we're going to play around it anyway. And we're not going to play this Coco on our turn for the same reason. We don't want to accidentally get Coco'd. So, or forced. So our Coco honestly does suck. So what we do is we just take the 2 biggest creatures we can find. And why didn't they attack? Why is our opponent like so scared to attack us? What's happening here? Alright, well, we're going to 7 them. And the good thing about that turn there too is because they were at 15. So them tapping their Waterlogged Grove actually put them at 14 and we attacked them for 7. So that play there, never mind giving us a reason to use our Spell Queller, but it actually turned our 3-turn clock into a 2-turn clock, and that's pretty exciting. So now they're just going to go ahead and honestly flail their arms at this point. Because there's nothing they can do about this onslaught of flyers. So we are going to win that matchup against Merfolk. We're going to go over to 2-0, so that's pretty exciting. And yeah, I will see y'all for the next one. Yo, we got round 3. We're on Spirits. We're 2-0 so far, so that's really exciting. And we didn't win the die roll, but this hand is pretty good. So we got a nice little foundation going on here, and really the only thing we want is some of the more high impact cards for turns 3 forward. So a basic plains. Alright, that doesn't tell us anything. And Coco is, well, a high impact card, so I guess ask and ye shall receive. Ah, we're on Death and Taxes. So luckily this hand is incredibly stable. So we've got a bunch of lands, which is perfect against Leonin Arbiter. We've got a Hierarch off of this Vial, which is great because it'll let us cast Coco next turn. And we've got a Rattle Chain so that we can play at instant speed and keep up the 2 mana required to ignore this ability. So honestly, this is pretty much everything we want going on right now. So this 2 damage, we just could not care less. So they come at us with 2 damage, that's whatever. We put in that, and the fact that they're like not busy, ooh, a Spell Queller. The fact that they're not busy jamming out like a oh, what's that stupid card called? Stoneforge Mystic was the card I was trying to name. The fact that they were busy not jamming that out before we LOL, sucks to be you. So that's not going to work, opponent. So now their entire turn is blanked. We still have access to Coco mana, and we are going to put in the Supreme Phantom. Okay, so they just actually pack it up. They're not even going to let us cast our Coco or anything. So yeah, so they clearly had a relatively slow start there. Like 2-drop, 3-drop, Path to Exile is really not good enough against what we brought there. But yeah, not all games against Death and Taxes go quite that well, but that was still pretty good. So yeah, let's slide over to game 2. And the Death and Taxes matchup honestly isn't that bad for us, so we don't really need too much in the board. What we really want to do here is just take out the Vials because we want our own Collector Oofs for the most part, even though they have the whole Leonin Arbiter package. What we get to play Path to Exiles, we get to play Collector Oof because we assume they're on Stoneforge Mystic and Friends. And okay, deck, not like this. Okay, that's better. So we're not happy about this, but it is a hand that lets us play a lot of Magic, so that's really all we want to ask for. And what we want, oh thank God, is for their turn 2 to not contain Leonin Arbiter, and it didn't, so we didn't have one of our lands turned off. So this is actually pretty nice on our end. So they have access to like Skyclave Apparition, which is annoying, but not the end of the world. The Archon of Emeria, I don't know that I really care that much. Like, okay. Okay, so we have a backup Oof too. So what we do here, because we have Spell Queller, is we decide to like test them for Restoration Angel. And honestly, like this Archon being a 4/5, I don't really even know that we care all that much. Like, it's good, but like, okay. So here what we're going to do is we're just going to put in Rattle Chains and then just like start jamming cards at them. So they're doing 4 damage a turn, so that's a 3-turn clock. And as long as they are tapping our stuff, or sorry, tapping their creature and not dedicating turns to doing things about what we're doing, I actually think we're in an okay-ish position to be able to use this Skyclave Apparition. And actually them casting Path to Exile is pretty good for us because really all we want to do is just like double spell. So we're going to go ahead and let that be a thing there. And they do play Giver of Runes, so I don't know. I kind of figure it's like now or never on that Sky. Ooh, nice. I kind of figure it's like now or never on that Skyclave Apparition. Alright, so we are going to Path to Exile to protect ourselves from having a 3/3 on their side of the table there. So Winds of Abandon, so that sucks a little. So now they're going to get to cast Path and Path. So that's obnoxious. They have a 3/3. And they attack. That's fine, I guess. And actually, that was a really, really, really nice draw. So, like, this Moorland Haunt is going to get to tag stuff, assuming we get to next turn. But, like, this Rattle Change is just going to make any of these 3 attackers lethal. And without some severe backup because of the Collector Oof, like, they need a lot of help in one card to get, like, just get rid of this flyer. And they don't get it, so that's going to be game there. And the cool thing about Collector Oof is that things like Sword of Fire and Ice actually weren't even outs. So, yeah, so this card's in some really, really solid work here. And, I don't know, just kind of shows that, like, just, you know, random points of spot removal just really are not good enough against this deck a lot of the time. So they got to cast what? Path, Winds, like trade with our creature, play an equipment that connected itself, hit with it like 3 times, and yeah, just Skyclave Apparition is an insane magic card, and Collector Roof did some solid work there too, because any of their attackers could have been really threatening, but they just never got the opportunity to equip it. And luckily for us, they never did see the Restoration Angel that we tried to play around for a while. But I don't know, with the combination of Spell Queller and Skyclave, I almost don't even know if that would have gotten him out of this. So good stuff to us. We move on to 3-0, so that's a really exciting time. So yeah, let's check out these next 2 rounds. Yo, so we on round 4. We're 3-0, which is super sick. We're against a random deck, huh? Alright. Ooh. This hand is sweet. Yeah, I like it. So, our opponent mulls to 5, which... Okay. So that means that they were either on something bad, like Tron, or they just had some unfortunate luck, but I don't really feel bad about that because we just mulliganed to 5 last game. So alright, so we're against some form of just green-white cocoa taxes and stuff. So alright, so we take this attack, we take the 3 here, and having access to this Mausoleum Wanderer at 3 means that their Coco is going to be 1 short of resolving, which is going to be super nice. And what they're not going to like here is that we have a follow-up Mausoleum Wanderer for next turn 2, so that's going to be really good. Oh, they actually just cast it, never mind. I actually didn't even expect them to, like, actually cast the Coco into the Wanderer here. Boop, boop. Yeah, look at us go. So Skyclave is going to take that Courser because that's their only real source of card advantage here. Everything else, honestly, we don't really care. Like, these creatures are big and have potential to do things, but, like, we don't really care. So the only flyer here is this Birds of Paradise, so we're good. Let's just hiya in their general direction. So, yeah. They have a choice. They block any one. They take 3 each from the others. That's going to be game 1. And yeah, let's slide over to game 2. And this is going to be another one where, just like Merfolk, we do want to put in the Path to Exiles, except we also don't really want to have access to... I'm sorry, we don't care about Collector Roof in this matchup, because from what we've seen, we can assume they are not a Stoneforge Mystic deck. Most decks that play Knight of the Reliquary are not Stoneforge decks. So instead, we'll just put in the Aether Gust and kind of call it a day. So let's go ahead and slide over to game 2. Whoop. And... okay. So this one's a little better. So the last hand had just like mono 3 drops, which is like okay-ish, but we don't necessarily know that they aren't or don't sideboard into Heliod combo, so I think that was a little too slow, but here we can just ship this Hallowed Fountain and be pretty excited. Alright, so what do we got? Okay, just regular Birds of Paradise and a Knight of the Reliquary, okay. So actually that Noble Hierarch's pretty good, as far as draws go. So we are not the saddest about that. So what they got here is they got a Skyclave. They're going to try to take out our Aether Vial, but like we're already going to get to play the Hierarch off it, so that's not the end of the world. So we are going to take this 3 from the Knight, but honestly we're still at 20, so we don't really care. Alright, so they flash in Temple Garden. So that's obviously telling us they have a path, but I don't know that we necessarily care. We do want to keep around our Mausoleum Wanderer, though, so we're going to sack the new one to keep the previous one in play. And that way we can still, like, take them to 13, keep up with the race that's happening right now, and absolutely not to that card resolving. No. Hard pass. Oh, my Lanta. So, a Felidar Retreat with Knighted Reliquary is ultra terrifying. So I am glad we didn't really have to deal with that right now. So we're going to go ahead and 6 them real quick. Give them the old whap whap. And they got a land in play here. We're going to take that too. We're not doing anything about that. So we get the double Draw Skull on, which is super sick. And here, what is this Knighted Reliquary doing? Alright. A Blast Zone on 1. Okay. So they avoid lethal by killing off the Mausoleum Wanderer, so that was pretty sweet. But they've got a lot of work to do before we actually care about what's happening here. Okay, yeah. So they couldn't get over 10, 10 hexproof flying damage. So that's going to be another game for us. And yeah, look at us moving on to 4-0. Yo, so we got 5th and final round, and yeah, let's go for this trophy. We win die roll, which is super sick, and our hand is actually pretty good. So if we're playing against something slower, this hand is ultra fast for us, so that's always really exciting. Oh man, much less exciting. So as anybody who watches these videos knows, I absolutely hate facing this deck. But for what it is, our hand is pretty fast. So I'm not going to go so far as to say excited about seeing this hand, but like, this is about as good as it's going to get. Give me a land. That's not a land. So we're going to go ahead and have them block here. So we're just going to teleport in our Supreme Phantom, have them take a bunch of damage, and most importantly, kill off that Grazer so it can't block us again. So we are a little sad about not drawing the land because it means that we didn't get the ability to like spell quell or anything here. And what we want to do here is specifically use only one of these Mausoleum Wanderers to soft counter this Summoner's Pact. Reason being is they're going to use it to look for the Primeval Titan anyway, right? So since they're going to look for Primeval Titan this turn basically no matter what, we want the Summoner's Pact to resolve in this specific scenario so that they take next turn off by tapping 4 mana. And even if they like use Sakura Tribe Scout or use some of this mana to play like an Amulet, any turn that they're not playing exactly Primeval Titan is usually good enough to count as like a turn off. And they do of course have the Amulet, so that's annoying. But next turn we'll get to like tick up the Aether Vial to 3 so that we can start playing the Spell Queller. And if we draw a land, we get to play both cards. Or if we draw a 2-drop, that's good too. We do draw a land. So we're actually just going to jam this Dragskull Captain and just pop him for 6 real quick. And the cool thing about this is, like I said, they're tapping 4 mana here. So almost no matter what they play, since they're tapping 4 mana here, it means that we're going to get to use this Spell Queller profitably. And even if it's a Zusa, don't care. Cool. Get rid of her. But now we got 12 damage in the air. So we know the last card is Primeval Titan. They're taking lethal. Sucks to be them. So that's actually really exciting that we won the hard game, because game 1 against this deck is really hard. But we got to aggro them out. We got to put just a tiny stopgap to that Summoner's Pact, and it looks like that was good enough. So let's move on to game 2, where we do have all of those Aven Mind Sensors, we have all of those Path to Exiles, and we even have an Aether Gust. So let's see how those work out. And oh boy. Alright, so this hand, it has the Aether Gust, but it is horrendously slow. And they have an Amulet, so we are not about to go into Happy Town here. Alright, so we at least jammed a Supreme Phantom because we're not really guaranteed to be able to play too many other cards here. So, I don't know. Wish me luck. Okay. So they get the Summoner's Pact. We get the land. So that's actually really nice. Yeah, so that's actually really, really nice. So once again, we want the Summoner's Pact to be the one that resolves here because we have the Aether Gust. So we're just going to go ahead and Aether Gust this Primeval Titan. And we're still not happy about not having a better clock on the board. But, like, them's the grapes sometimes. So, and then this is essentially a free turn for us. So since they're stuck paying the 4 mana for the Summoner's Pact, we know that we can kind of safely play that Skyclave Apparition. And so we're going to clock them for 4 real quick. And we have double path too, so that's really nice. And once again, what we're going to do here is specifically path them before the Primeval Titan trigger resolves. And the reason for that is going to be the same as always. Primeval Titan is almost definitely going to look for at least 1 copy of Field of the Dead, right? So if they put the Field of the Dead on a table and then we path, well, now they're going to get an additional zombie. But here, currently, since there's no Field of the Dead on the table at all, we can path them, they get a basic forest, but no zombie. So now they're going to use Primeval Titan and, assumedly at least, look for at least 1 Field of the Dead here. So let's see what they actually do look for. Okay, so they look for Simic, blue-green bounce, and they look for Teleria West. Okay. Now what? Okay, that sucks a lot. So what we do here is 2 things. So we actually path our own copy of Skyclave Apparition for 2 reasons. First, we want to get the 4th land guaranteed so that we can play this Coco, right? And the second thing is we wanted their 1/1 to be on the table so that it got bodied by their fire spout. So we are going to be a little sad that that isn't there to cover another copy of Primeval Titan, but like that base was already not covered very well, so okay, so we get to Spell Queller to Summoner's Pact, and okay, so they just have another prime time anyway, so yeah, this is just not going to end well. Okay, so there's the Field of the Dead. We're really sad about this. We are not getting out of this alive with them at 13. So we just go ahead and we take another draw step. And at this point, to be honest, I don't even really know why. I guess we could have drawn a path here, but like... And there's the Mind Sensor. So unfortunately, we find out the hard way that if we had simply cast a Coco and not been scared of this, we actually would have pulled the Mind Sensor that we wanted against the Summoner's Pact / Primetime. So that actually would have worked out really well for us, but, well, we played scared, and they ended up having all of the things for us anyway. So, yeah, we get bodied there, and, yeah, let's move to Game 3. Let's see if we can go ahead and recover here. And this is going to be the one for basically all the marbles, because this game determines whether we get a trophy or not. And our hand is medium fast-ish. Could use a Lord. Uh-oh. Could use a lot. Oh, well, there's a Lord. So that's not bad. So let's go ahead and 3 them here. Okay, so we are going to counter the Explorer because they have the Amulet. And we don't necessarily like not having a clock up, but we really just... I don't know, I feel like we were just not in a position where giving them access to another land drop that turn was something we could have done. Oh, I don't think that was good timing. I don't think I should have done that then. Actually, what I think I should have done there... I mean, they had to never mind, they had the Amulet, so it didn't matter whether I did it then or whether I did an upkeep, so I guess it was better to preserve my mana. Okay, never mind. Alright, so we clock them for 4 here, and now they go ahead and they pay 4 for the Summoner's Pact, and we try to avoid some very real danger here. So just by virtue of using the spell that we had, we want to go ahead and I guess just get rid of the Sakura Tribe Scout. Realistically, it doesn't actually mean too much of anything here since, like, it's not doing anything. But they're going to go ahead and go to 5, and here they are going to have prime time, which is pretty terrifying. So that's going to happen. So now let's see here. They go ahead, they get Valakut, they get fast land. So Valakut makes it fast. And now they're going to get a bounce land plus what? Okay, so they get bounce land plus Radiant Fountain. And they've got, of course, all the mana, so that's going to be a thing. And they bounce Vesuva, which is also really scary. So now they Summoner's Pact for the Dryad. And now we actually have some pretty immense regrets about countering that Sakura Tribe Scout. Whoops. So now we feel like we probably should have just like flashed in Rattle Chains previously so that we could counter this Dryad. So that actually I think is on us because we probably didn't have to let this whole Valakut shenanigans be a thing. Never mind, they had to. Alright. Well, now I don't feel so bad because they had to, so that's what it is. Alright, so they're going to go ahead and they're going to pay a bunch here. So now they have access to at least 3 mana here. And they're going to move to combat, so we're actually just going to slide that prime time right out there. So we're going to block the Dryad, go to 9, and yeah, the bounce land is actually going to do it because we know they have the Vesuva, so that's going to suck a lot. And that's going to be exactly 9 damage, so we are pretty sad about that, but yeah. So luckily in this specific game, I don't think it mattered that we countered a Sakura Tribe Scout because they had 2 copies of the Dryad, and because they were able to pick up the 2 copies of the Summoner's Pact anyway. So I think that one was just going to be pretty much inevitable. So let me know in the comments what you think about that specific line there, and whether it was better to just flash in the Rattle Chains for the same 3 damage, and, you know, keep up the, what's the word I'm looking for? Keep up the, oh god, why can't I think? Keep up the Spell Queller in hand. Or whether this line here was fine just cutting off any bounce land shenanigans with Sakura Tribe Scout, which was, I guess that was my goal there. So if they had, like, you know, a bounce land plus Radiant Fountain and, like, got themselves out of lethal range and just gave themselves enough turns to attack me with Primeval Titan, just never mind Valakut, just by virtue of being a 6/6. So that's what we were looking to prevent with the Sakura Tribe Scout, was to prevent any bounce land shenanigans with like Radiant Fountain and getting them up to like 10 life or something like that. But maybe that was wrong and maybe I should have held up for the Dryad. I don't know. But that was a pretty exciting league, and once again we got to play a modern league with 5 different decks from our opponents, so that's always really exciting to see when we have a format that is this level of diverse. I think it's great right now. Even though I hate this deck, that's fine. That's just because my deck has a really bad matchup against it. I can live with that. But as usual, if you do like what you see, just make sure to like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, I'll see y'all on the next one.